Hello. I make a lot of fake data for demos, keynotes, training courses. You might be doing that too, or even on big scale things, software engineering, testing APIs, training AI models. And it's always been a pain for 20 years. It's just slow, tedious, and always ends up with clunky results. Well, I recently discovered Tonic Fabricate. Let me show you why I really like it. Let's dive into my genuine use case. I've been making data for a training course and I needed a data set essentially that works across a bunch of exercises and loads of different data sets. I'm going to paste in a prompt. In this case, it's quite detailed. You don't have to. You could click one of these buttons just to get an example or add in schema files and do something really detailed. You can even do live connections to your production database to use that as the source for creating synthetic data. Brilliant if you don't have access to your production data. So this one's relatively detailed. I want a German coffee shop chain, a year of data ready for PostgreSQL with euros as the currency. I'm going to give it some agency in the table structure, and I want some interesting data with particular trends, commuter rush hours, etc. And I want it to be understaffed and with some data quality issues. All right, let's press go and see what happens. Fabricate's having a think and it's going to come up with a plan that it will execute. Now I can verify this plan. So what have we got? We've got 6 stores. Okay, so we've got coffee houses in Berlin, Hamburg, Munich, Cologne, Frankfurt and Stuttgart. Understaffing is in here, so this is cool. We're going to get some staff incidents and some negative customer feedback. Nice. 12 tables. This is great, right? You know, if you try and make fake data with the frontier LLMs, ChatGPT, Gemini, etc., it's all right doing a single table. But if you want multi-tables with good referential integrity, it really struggles with that. And then the patterns we've got in. So we're going to have a commuter spike. One's going to have a lunchtime spike, weekend rush. So this is great. I've done many trainings on how to visualize time. And it was so hard finding data sets that had good time trends that you could use. And what I found with Fabricate is I could just create those trends. So great for trainers, great if you need that in your production level database when you're testing or training AI models. There's loads of stuff here. I'm going to go ahead with that. Let's execute the plan. 7 stages, off we go. One thing I do like at this point, I could have altered or adapted the plan here if I'd have wished using the conversation chatbot and just change things to make sure it's right. What's happening here is Fabricate's creating all the data. Now you can see we've got stores. What I like here is that it's not using AI tokens completely to generate all this data. There's a mix behind the scenes of Fabricate connecting to the LLM to do loads of work, but there's actually a lot of different technology in there creating the fake data through code so that it's a cheaper experience than just going, hey Gemini, make everything, and then burning through all your tokens in a really expensive fashion. And there's self-checking happening along the way. For each query or each group it's doing some verification checks, which gives confidence in the system. Obviously I can go and then do those checks later, but at least this is some QA checking on my behalf. All right, we're back. I probably should have asked for a little bit less data, but we have a lot of data and it took about 20 minutes. So let's just review the last few things it gave us. We've got some profile of the stores. So average service time, look at these two, Frankfurt and Stuttgart, take a long time, don't want to visit there. And customer rating, some validation that those 2 stores aren't going to be performing very well. Cold drink revenue, and so there you go. So we've got a lot of data, 100,000 transactions and 17,000 pieces of customer feedback. And look on here on the right hand side, we have tables. It's built all of these. Let's take a look at staff. And here is our data. You can see it. They've all got decent, realistic names, proper staff roles, hiring at hire dates, hourly wage as well. And this is just how powerful Fabricate becomes. And I can download the zip file to then create that database on my own servers. We can do some validation in with the agent here. So let's look at time trends. So show me sales over time by hour of day for each store. So what I can do here is basically work with the agent to look at the data, and I can also ask it to change the data if we need to. All right, what have we got? Well, let's have a look. So we've got one chart for each one. Don't like the color scheme, but that's fine. We can see Berlin has that early morning rush. Hamburg is a lunchtime destination. Munich has a fairly, it's almost predictable normal distribution. We've got one in the evening and one which has 2 rushes as well. That's pretty cool. I asked for different trends. This is what I got, right? And this is amazing. This kind of data pattern request is really powerful. And we can also ask it, what data inconsistencies did you put in? You know, it's really powerful when you're looking for production data. You want to put in anomalies so that your system can highlight data problems. I've been doing all sorts of duplicate issues, spelling issues, fuzzy matching, opportunities for fuzzy matching, timestamps that are incorrect, and even linguistic problems. So where a customer rating is really positive, but they gave a very negative score. Fabricate's done all of those. And here we get the results. What have we got? This is great. So we've got misspelling, and then we've got queries we can run to get each of the ones. Okay, so cappuccino, misspell, transactions out of time, etc., etc. So those are all there. I can get it to add more if I wish. Just ask the agent to do the work. So we can do the validation externally, of course. I've downloaded the data and installed it on a local server. I've built that connection in Tableau, and we can go and look at the data. So here is sales by hour of day of store. And what you can see is each store does have a very different profile through the day. So this store has this peak at lunchtime on weekdays. This one has a really early morning peak on weekdays as well. Here's one that everyone goes to on the weekends. They're the orange lines, etc., etc. So Fabricate is doing all of this with full referential integrity. You know, I wanted a mix of payment types. You can see we've got those payment types. And then really granular stuff as well. So this is number of incidents for each member of staff. And poor Antonia Weber at this store, she's got 22 incidents against her. And Matthias has got 10, and we can drill into those as well. So Fabricate's really doing this mix of high-level structural information, but putting in meaningful real-world situations. So whether you're doing it for training courses like me, or for production data when you're testing out a new system and you're not allowed access to your production data, Fabricate makes this synthetic data really powerful, really good. Well, that's my super simple demo of Tonic Fabricate. I haven't even touched on things like Live Connect. So here I've added a connection to a real database. So imagine this is your production database, and you can get Fabricate to then create clones or copies of data inspired by this data set as well. Really, really powerful new addition. You know, if you've ever made fake data for training courses or for production databases and you're doing big scale software engineering, hello, future editing Andy. Well, recording Andy just said use fake data for production databases. No, you'd never make fake data in your production data, would you? What I meant to say is if you need to mimic a production database in a test environment, then that is the sweet spot for synthetic or fake data. Back to recording Andy or data engineering. Go check it out. There's a link in the description in the comments. Have a play around and break it. You know, you can unblock innovation with reusable data. This is a brand partnership, but I approached Tonic because I had so much fun using this tool, and I said I want to make fake data all day. Go check it out. Let me know what you think. and enjoy making some fake data. And if you're like me, I've got quite close to the employees at these various coffee chain stores and board game chains that I've created. All right, that's Tonic Fabricate. Take care.